I mean, it's like, I don't think a kid's going to be safer because a tent is 500 feet away from a school. You know, it's like...
A few moments later.
I have two little kids.
Yeah.
They didn't see it, luckily, this morning. But, you know, I feel badly that I'm even subjecting them to that at all. But
So this may be one of my favorite news stories of the entire year, but the LA mayor's race is getting really interesting, and we'll have a video update on Spencer Pratt very soon because the Democrat panic mode against him is only increasing. But today I want to discuss the far left candidate in the race. You may remember this is a woman by the name of Nithya Raman. She's basically the Mamdani socialist of LA, running to the left of not just Spencer Pratt, but also Karen Bass. Karen Bass at least sometimes pretends to be pro-police or anti-homelessness. She just fully embraces this type of stuff. And we've nailed her repeatedly, especially for her insane stance on the homelessness issue, because not only does Nithya Raman buy all of the far left ideology on this issue about how they're not really mentally ill or drug addicts, they're just the unhoused, right? Homelessness is just a product of capitalism because the starving poor people aren't being given socioeconomic resources, and socialism surely can solve the drug addiction problem that we often see on our streets. But it doesn't even stop there, because she perhaps is most famously known for her stance on homeless encampments outside of schools. That is correct. She quite notably voted against a resolution while she was a city councilwoman to ban homeless encampments from being within 500 feet of, let's say, for example, elementary schools. Yeah, absolutely insane. You know, the entrance of an elementary school where you're sending, let's say, your kindergartner inside? That is right. Nithya Raman actually thinks if there is a crazy drugged up fentanyl addict right there in front of him, that's not a safety issue whatsoever. In fact, she defended this in front of her constituents, saying that I don't see how it makes school kids safer if we tell the unhoused that they can't be within 500 feet of the school. So totally insane. As I said many times, you know, this woman needs to be almost the embodiment of what Democrats actually believe and what they really stand for, and honestly an ambassador for the midterms in many ways. If Spencer Pratt's going to be a national ambassador for the GOP, this woman needs to be a national ambassador for the Democrats. But all of that in mind, here's where it gets hilarious, and here's our update on the story. Is that apparently this week, a group of fed up LA residents who are outraged against her, you know, crazy, insane stances for obvious reasons, did quite the unthinkable, according to her. They set up a fake homeless encampment outside of her house. That is right. Now, let's remember, according to Nithya Raman, a homeless encampment right outside of where your kids are, your family are, that's not a safety issue at all, right? They're just the unhoused. Let's not needlessly demonize people. So you would expect her to, of course, be perfectly okay with that because she loves homelessness. She believes homeless encampments should be all around, all over the place. And, you know, it's not a problem. And anyone who's complaining about it is a bigot. But I kid you not, she responded not just by saying that it was wrong or insulting or whatever, but by saying it was wrong for her kids to be subjected to that. That's right, to the fake homeless encampment. She used her kids as the excuse to why they shouldn't do that. While, of course, claiming with your kids, right? It's perfectly okay for them to go to school with homeless people, but her kids, no. Don't bring even the fake homeless actors who are just doing a parody of her, right? Just making fun of her. Now that's a step too far. So I want to bring you this story. We'll kind of go through the chronicle because it's kind of hysterical, but at the same time, I think shows just how deeply insane and evil and disingenuous this human being actually is. Let's get into it. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, just to be clear that I was not straw-manning her back then. I'm not straw-manning her now. Here was, of course, the infamous clip of then Councilwoman Raman defending her no vote on that very resolution that would have banned homeless encampments from being within 500 feet of public schools. Take a listen.
May I ask a specific question? I'm wondering if you support 4118 around schools and daycares.
I already voted against it, you know?
There you go.
Because it doesn't work. I mean, it's like, I don't think a kid's going to be safer because a tent is 500 feet away from a school, you know?
God,
owl will kill me.
So I have a question.
Yeah, so again, just to be clear, she said this, she defended it, we talked about it before, but please understand, we're not taking her out of context, we're not strawmanning her. This is an actual political belief that she has. And then to add insult to injury, she's rolling her eyes at her constituents, who include a bunch of parents in the crowd who just visibly and audibly sound very shocked and appalled at what they just heard, as they should be. And she actually looks at them like they're the crazy ones, right? How dare they not want LA homeless people, especially, which if you kind of been around this country, you know, the ones in LA are actually extra crazy, right? Extra violent, you know, not the type of people you might see, for example, in some small town in rural America. No. Like the LA homeless people are another level, right? And she's basically defending their existence in front of children, which, if I were to be honest, is just not an opinion that should be considered acceptable, like within the realm of normal discourse within American politics. But this is, of course, the Democrat Party. As you can clearly tell, many of their elected officials and activists probably belong in the same mental institutions, frankly, that the crazy fentanyl addicts, that they refuse to send, I should say, the crazy fentanyl addicts and schizophrenic lunatics on our streets. But I digress. This is her, and I'm not going to get riled up about this take for the millionth time, but it genuinely just enrages me every time I hear it, because it just, to think that like that woman is elected anywhere in this country, okay, something is seriously wrong. But that said, okay, you'd probably think that now that she's running for mayor and she's getting attacked a lot for this, it would be something to back off of, right? Maybe let me just totally like say I no longer believe that or something like that, because it's a completely losing position, okay? Very outside of maybe 5% of insane woke activists that she's appeasing, even the people of LA, of a very liberal city, do not agree with a position like that. They don't like homelessness either. They certainly don't want it in front of their kids. But no, of course, I would point out that even at a recent mayoral debate, Nithya Rahman doubled down on the idea that she still believes in this. Take a listen.
Next question. Do you support the ordinance that restricts encampments in front of schools or daycare centers? Mayor Bass, I'm going to start with you. Yes or no? Ms. Rahman, yes or no?
I support keeping our streets safe. I did vote against the structure of this particular ordinance. And it is because at its best,
it's a yes or no.
It does not, the way this ordinance was structured,
It's no.
it
Yes or no.
does not
Yes or
keep,
no.
it
We'll
does
take
not
that
keep
as a
our
no.
children safe. It does not
Mr.
keep our
Pratt.
children safe. No,
Mr.
it
Pratt.
doesn't keep our children safe enough.
It's a simple yes or no question. Mr. Pratt.
What I was saying is she's fighting because she doesn't think there's a difference between 1 foot or 500 feet for kids' safety with drug addicts with machetes
Again,
in front of
we'll take
schools.
that. Yes or no?
Of course, we do not want encampments in front of schools, parks, daycare.
Okay,
I don't want vehicles.
Mayor, you had talked about
Yeah, so for whatever reason, she is actually doubling down on this. Her central thesis there being, it doesn't actually make kids safer. And what is the underlying implication of that? What is she trying to say? That the homeless people aren't dangerous. Okay, that's the point she's making. It's just, needless bigotry and demonization of the unhoused is the message that is being sent there. That's why, of course, much like diversity is our strength, in the similar way that leftists believe like drag queen story hour is not a bad thing for kids, neither is the cultural enrichment, I suppose, that they would be getting from the unhoused communities in Los Angeles. Yeah, that's exactly what kids need, right? This is the same party who now suddenly talks about the Epstein political class, right? That's their big catchphrase. Yeah, sure. Whatever you say. Okay, so all of that in mind, though, right? Perfectly fine. Kids shouldn't be scared of homeless people. Homeless people should be living outside of schools. Heck, why not live inside the schools, right? Nithya Rahman, that's squatters' rights. Is that going to come next? I'm kind of joking about that, but I'm also not joking, okay? We should actually, let's actually ask Nithya Rahman what her sincere opinion is on that. I'd like to know. But anyways, so as a result, some jokesters, we'll call them, in Los Angeles, did something quite funny. Yeah, totally. It's just a joke, right? They showed up to her neighborhood, yes, outside of her house, and they set up a fake homeless encampment, basically as a form of protest, okay? So it's on the sidewalk, by the way, which in Los Angeles is considered public area. In a city that doesn't really do anything about homeless people, it's perfectly legal, right? But they show up here and start, making that exact point, right? You're okay with homeless encampments outside of other people's kids and families and things like that. Well, we're going to set up a performative homeless encampment for a day just to prove a point. And, well, first take a look at what they did.
Fake homeless encampments set up outside LA City Councilwoman and mayoral candidate Nithya Raman's home.
This is happening all over the city, and we brought it to her doorstep so she can see what other people are going through.
Tents, trash, old tires, and a barbecue Monday morning, all outside Raman's home.
Basically doing a parody ad for her. Like, if we were in charge of her campaign, this was the ad that we would make.
They feel like this draws the line.
Yeah, I think that, it's a public street, and I can see where she's upset, but think about everybody else that's going through the same thing constantly that are being ignored.
It's just too good. And of course, they brought the signature items of LA homeless people. So you also have the tires, the barbecues being set up that are fire hazards. It's a perfect parody of exactly what she supports. And as you can kind of already hear, a bunch of Rahman supporters are criticizing this because they're saying, hey, you shouldn't show up to people's houses, which I principally agree with. But what I'll point out at the same time is, first of all, these are the same people who supported protesting outside of Supreme Court justices' houses. Remember all the times they were doing that? They do this crap all the time, quite frankly, okay? How many BLM protests spilled into residential neighborhoods? This is what they do, okay? They're just mad when it happens to them. But then secondly, and maybe beyond that, right? Rahman is the person who doesn't want to clear the homeless encampments. She calls you names, she insults you, she thinks you're an idiot if you don't want that stuff in front of your kids' schools, in front of your own houses, because let me just tell you, there's a bunch of homelessness that also in Los Angeles spills very close to or inside of residential neighborhoods, and she's of the stance that we shouldn't clear the homeless encampments or even make ordinances that are allowing it legally to be cleared out. So suddenly now when they set up a fake homeless encampment as a political protest for a day, you're going to come there and criticize it as if, it's just totally missing the point that you're making. Okay, you don't support these hobos, fake or not, outside of your house? Fine, totally get that. Why do you want that for the rest of the city? I mean, this stuff is quite self-explanatory. I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel or making a revolutionary point, but you just we can clearly tell, right, what these people are trying to do, the point they're trying to make. And yeah, if you're a leftist who, first of all, constantly supports people protesting outside of houses, okay, they don't have any, left-wing activists have no respect for privacy. They're just mad, again, when that stuff's happening to them on the flip side. But then secondly, right, support actual homeless encampments outside of your kids' schools and outside of your own houses. Who are you to criticize anything, right? It's but of course, I'm just going to ask you the question right now. How do you think Nithya Raman reacted to this? Well, it's quite predictable. Take a listen.
I have 2 little kids.
Yeah.
They didn't see it, luckily, this morning. But, I feel badly that I'm even subjecting them to that at all. But, but it has definitely, this has gone far beyond what I expected the campaign to be about. I, again, thought it would be about bike lanes and management of the Department of Transportation.
I mean, that's just highly predictable, but also pretty shocking and hilarious at the same time. And the total lack of self-awareness to bring her kids into it, you would think at the very least, given what the criticism is, what they're protesting, she might try to find another angle of attack. But no, just straight up says, she's trying to make the point, right? Nithya Raman, you don't think it's very safe or nice for homeless encampments to be right in front of your children? Huh? That's a very interesting political viewpoint. I totally agree. That's totally not something that I would roll my eyes at if people were trying to raise it to myself, right? Oh, no, totally not. It's just again, where's the self-awareness? What's going on here? But, it's the typical champagne socialist behavior. They want that for your kids, not her kids. Her kids, she's going to live very nice lives away from the fentanyl addicts, but in front of your school, right? 100%. Notice also, too, she kind of brings up at the end what leftists always do, the whole "we just want healthcare" line. I'm sure you've heard that before because, they'll believe the most insane things, right? Political assassinations, transing the children, open borders, Somali terrorists, all these things, right, that they support. And then whenever you come to criticize them or, they are like, why are you pushing back against this? That's always what they resort to, is this line of, oh, we just believe in being a decent effing human being, or we just have empathy, or we just want healthcare, right? You've heard that a million times. We just want healthcare. She does the same thing. You know, people are attacking her for all of these crazy beliefs she has. And she's like, look, guys, I just want more bike lanes. That's what her campaign is totally about, right? It's a typical obfuscation, the baiting and switch. I just want bike lanes, just like Mamdani too, by the way, right? I just believe in cheaper groceries and affordability, you know, just totally all of the far left things that they have said publicly, they just want you to completely ignore and things like that. Yeah, it's so typical, but I just wanted to point that out. You know, you're not just running on bike lanes, lady. You publicly, not even just as a councilwoman, which is your political record, even on the debate stage, you're supporting homeless encampments being in front of your children. And then she's like, how dare you attack me? I'm just running a campaign about the bike lanes. I think it's about a lot more than the bike lanes, right? I think that's a coping mechanism you retreat to because you can't actually defend your insane ideas in front of normal people, because even normal people, even Democrat voters in Los Angeles think you're crazy, which is the reality. That's why you're currently sinking in third place, right? But anyways, guys, there you have it. Just wanted to bring that up. In the next video on this subject, we'll talk about Spencer Pratt and his current rise and maybe the potential reasons why he's sort of starting to fill a power vacuum in the collapse of Nithya Raman's campaign over just repeatedly embarrassing herself on this issue. But for now, there you have it. Typical story. The pro-homelessness, far-left crazy candidate doesn't support homelessness outside of her house. And it's like deeply traumatizing for her that it happened for like an hour or so as part of a staged parody protest for a day. But of course, you know, the lady of empathy has no empathy for the children and families who have to be subjected to actual dangerous, violent homeless people in like the actual real world, right? But 30 minutes of some parody homeless people showing up and she cracks. She's shaken by it. Oh, my kids, my children. Yeah. I you know, that's a good point you're making. Actually, Ramon, it is kind of scary and bad and traumatizing. Huh? Yeah. Interesting. All right, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.